Hey expats and travelers, it's Josh with Expats Everywhere, and if you're anything like me and Kaylee, then you know how important it is to learn a new language when you move to a new place, but you also know how challenging it can be. So we decided to sit down with an expert who has taught himself 7 different languages, he knows 8, and he's gonna share with us his principles and his methods on how he did it. So let's go. Hello, welcome to Expats Everywhere. If you could tell us your name, where you're from, and a little about yourself.
All right. I'm very glad to be here, Josh, on Experts Everywhere. So my name is Christian Modjaiso, but everybody calls me Moja. That's my nickname. And I'm a hyper polyglot. That means I speak multiple languages. I'm a hyper polyglot who speaks 8 languages. And I also work as a coach, just helping people to become fluent in whatever language they're trying to learn as quickly and efficiently as possible. So I'm very glad to be here with you, Josh, and
Awesome.
everybody in the Experts Everywhere community.
Well, thank you so much. We've brought you in actually to be our language expert because I think once you get over 3 languages, you really become an expert on how to learn. So, do you think that people have a natural talent to learn languages? And what does someone do if they don't have this talent?
I don't know if there's actually a talent for learning languages per se, but here's one thing I can say for sure. Anybody who can speak one language is talented enough to learn another.
Mm,
So if you didn't have the talent for languages, you should not be speaking any language right now. If you're speaking English, that's proof the talent is there. Let's forget about talent now and focus on other aspects. In my own experience, learning a language is really about doing things in a certain way. There's a proper way to do things. And if you do things in that way, you always get the correct result. It's like making a cup of tea. There are certain steps you must follow to make a cup of tea. Boil the water, put in the sugar, tea leaves, stir, and then if you do that, you always get the cup of tea,
mm,
regardless of how talented you are. This is the
brilliant.
same thing with language learning. There are certain things which, if you do them, guarantee success.
So I think that that's going to be really reassuring to people because there are many people like me and my wife who do have different ways of learning languages, different things that come naturally, and we have very mixed results. So let's kind of dig in a bit more into to what those steps are. Since we're going to be making our cup of tea with you today, let's talk a bit about how much time commitment does it take to learn a new language? And does it depend on the actual language you're trying to learn?
Well, obviously, there's certain languages are harder depending on what you know first. Like, for example, if you speak Japanese, then Chinese might not be as hard as if your first language is English and you're trying to learn Chinese.
Mm,
Right? It depends a bit on the similarity of the languages.
mm.
Nevertheless, about how much you should practice, there's definitely certain things that are necessary. It's important to practice every day.
Okay.
Any day you take off from practice. So more than quantity, I'd say is consistency and quality, of course, but consistency is key. So if I practice from Monday to Friday, and then on I take Saturday and Sunday off,
Mm,
right? But I become rusty. On Saturday, I'm rusty. On Sunday, I'm rusty also. So when I come back on Monday, I first have to return to my original level. And because a lot of information has been unlearned, you see,
mm-hmm.
your mind is an efficient tool. It does not want to spend time on things that are not important. So one way you tell your mind that something is important is by doing it daily.
Okay.
If I spend a month without speaking Spanish, my mind figures, well, Spanish is not that important. So it starts to forget it and focus on things that are more important. The TV show I'm watching or something, I don't know. So you want to practice daily. That's absolutely key. Maybe let's say minimum of 30 minutes. But of course, the more you practice in the correct way, the better the results. But if you
Okay.
did 30 minutes minimum every day, within a month, 2 months, 3 months, the progress will be remarkable.
Wow. Okay. So 30 minutes might be a lot of time for some people, but you're just saying any time is better than no time. So even if you can't commit 30 minutes, if you can commit 10, 15 minutes, is that still okay?
Well, yes. So if you commit less time, then you're gonna learn. It's gonna take longer, but you could still do it.
Okay.
It's all about how fast you want to learn it.
Perfect.
Um, yes, and also there's certain things you can do to always incorporate the language. We have a lot of dead time.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone drives to work, they have a lot of dead time,
Hmm.
where you're like you can drive the car automatically, so your mind is free to wander. You could at that time you could play something in your target language,
I
and so
see.
you're doing a bit of passive learning, let's say, in terms of listening comprehension. One thing I would like to emphasize, though, there's no such thing as something for nothing.
Okay.
There's a price to pay for everything. So
Sure.
if you want some cash, you get a job. Let's say if you want to learn a language, there's a time commitment. That's the price to pay. But if the result is important for you, then you kind of we always find time for what's important for us.
Most definitely. And I think it's great advice to say that if you have a goal, you have to know the price and you have to pay the price. So I really like that you've made that plain and clear to me, myself, because I feel like I'm learning a lesson right now too. Because I want to learn Portuguese. I truly do, now that we're here in Portugal trying to settle. But this leads to the next question. You talked about being able to drive in the car and learn passively. Is there a right time of day to study and maybe a wrong time of day to study? Like, is there an optimal time during the day to study?
I don't know if there's anything like an optimal time. Nevertheless, the key to learning is focus. Right? You want to be focused. If you're focused, it doesn't matter when it is. If you're focused at 8 a.m. in the morning, great. But if it's, let's say, 11 p.m. at night, and you're super tired and you're yawning and you're not focused, then obviously you're not going to learn much. You'll still learn some stuff, because the subconscious mind never sleeps. You
Hmm.
still learn something, but it's not as efficient as if you were focused. So I'd say certain people are able to focus at different times also, maybe depending on your schedule. But just find a time when you can really block out everything and just concentrate on what you're doing.
Is it possible for someone to switch something on when they're sleeping and learn by osmosis? Because there are like YouTube videos out there where it's Spanish while you sleep or something like that. Is that even possible?
Uh, all right, I'm a bit wary about taking the easy way out. There is a price to pay for learning a language, and part of that price is focus, concentration. Most importantly, correcting your mistakes.
Hmm.
So if I spend my time sleeping, I'm not really putting in the effort.
Okay.
So the results are not going to be as good. Nevertheless, when you're asleep, there is a part of you that never sleeps.
Okay.
This is why, even if you think you're in a deep slumber and someone bangs on the door, you wake up. You wake up because there was something that was awake that was monitoring all that's going around. That's your subconscious.
Hmm.
So if you play like the radio, if you put on the radio while you're sleeping, the subconscious is listening to everything.
Okay.
And if you have the habit of listening in particular to a particular piece of information, that piece of information is going to control all your behavior. Like for example, if let's say you fall asleep and you listen to, I don't know, like the news, where the things are mostly negative,
Hmm.
then you're just going to be in a negative state and you will not even know why it's happening. But it's because the subconscious has taken in the information and is affecting your behavior. So if you listen to the same stuff, maybe the same material, maybe simple material during the night, some of it is still going to come in, but ultimately you're going to have to put in the effort. Otherwise the learning will not really happen, but
Okay.
some learning will happen.
Okay, great. Well, how about for those overachievers out there? Is it possible to learn two target languages at the same time?
Yes, it's possible. Basically, the essence of learning languages or anything else is error correction. Right? What does it mean to learn? Simple question. To learn means I'm making less mistakes over time.
Hmm.
If I anytime I correct my mistake, I've learned. That's all it means. If I correct a mistake, I've learned. So if
Hmm.
let's say I take Spanish and correct my mistakes in Spanish, I've learned. Then I go and take Portuguese and correct my mistakes, I've also learned. Like during the day, you already learn multiple things.
Hmm.
For example, remember maybe when you're in college or school, you took a physics class from 8 to 9, and then you took maybe you took I don't know, writing class noon. I think Americans say noon, right? At
Yes.
noon.
Yeah.
So, all right, all of this, your mind is capable of learning so long as you're obeying the principles of language learning. You'll still learn even 10 languages. You could do it.
Okay. So I guess what I'm learning right now is the value of maybe not only in your books studies, doing the correction, the auto correction, and the making of mistakes, but also getting out into the street, trying to speak, trying to listen, and picking up on those mistakes that you make. Because here in Portugal, for example, there are a lot of locals that you'll meet, that you'll talk to, and when you make a mistake, they actually, in a very kind way, they'll correct you. They'll correct you by saying it the right way, or by choosing maybe the right ending on the word where you chose the wrong one. So as long as you stay focused and you listen to what they're saying, they're actually teaching you and you'll learn through your mistakes. So you got to get out there and make mistakes, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. In fact, most important is when you start learning a language, your mind doesn't know what is right and what's wrong. We're saying the basis of learning is just error correction. There are many applications of that principle. Right? Here's how I'll put it. There are very few principles, but there are many methods or applications of the principle. Like there are many ways to correct mistakes. One is like what you're saying. I go out to the street and I speak and I get corrected.
Right.
Another one is I can record myself speaking and someone corrects what I'm saying. I
Mm.
can write something and somebody corrects my writing. There's like 1,000 ways to apply error correction. But what many people spend a lot of time practicing and they never get better because they ignore, they're not really correcting their mistakes. Right? So whatever you do, just make sure, hey, am I correcting my mistakes? If you're not learning anything.
Okay. All right. That makes a lot of sense with something that I'm currently learning. So I've been using a new app, and
Mm.
when I've done things in the past, it's been like you learn this thing. Well, I use that in air quotes, saying learn, but you do this thing, you do this activity, and then once you get it, you just move on to the next thing. But this particular app, it actually comes back to the things that you miss quite often. So in that way, it allows me to fix my mistake. It doesn't just allow me to get it correct and then move past it, but allows me to loop back maybe a day later or 2 days later. It gives me the same phrase or the same word that I need to choose correctly. So that's interesting because I have felt like I've just been just kind of learning in that way. Like it doesn't feel hard. Like I pick up, there's a recognition that like, oh wait, I know what the answer is because a few days ago I got this wrong, but now I know what the answer is. That's interesting. Okay. So speaking of apps, can someone really learn by just by using like a language app, or are there different methods or a mix of methods that people need to use to learn?
It all depends on what you're trying to, what skill. There's four skills in language learning:
Yep,
speaking, reading, listening, writing. It
that's right.
depends on what you're trying to improve.
Hmm.
So, for example, DeepL or Google Translate are so good now at translation that they can help you a lot, let's say, with your written work.
Hmm.
So, if you had a way to have, let's say, Google Translate correct your writing mistakes, you still get better at writing. But of course, sometimes people are afraid of speaking, and so they hide behind apps.
Hmm.
The app is not going to teach you how to speak, right? If you want to improve your vocabulary, the app can correct your mistakes, great. But if you want to improve your speaking, then you need something that or someone that can correct your speaking mistakes. And so in such a case, you have to kind of actually meet people and speak and have them tell you what's wrong with what you're doing. And then you fix it. And if you do this, you eventually learn. In my experience, most people are interested in learning how to speak more than the other, speak and listen, more than writing and reading typically.
Okay, well, let's kind of get into your story a bit and let's talk about the journey of becoming a polyglot. So the first thing is, how did you learn so many languages? What was that moment that what was that catalyst moment like where you're like, I need to learn a new language. I need to do this.
It's just when I was younger, there's certain, I tried to learn Kiswahili for a while and I couldn't. And I'd also tried to learn French and I was struggling with it. So, and that was when I was a kid. I had this desire to really speak the languages, but I didn't. So I thought maybe I'm just not good at languages, which is the natural conclusion people draw when they try something and they suck at it at the beginning. Oh, I'm just not good at this. I don't have the gene. I was not born in the right place, etc. All just excuses.
Right. Where did that
So
desire to learn those languages come from?
the source of the desire, I don't know. Maybe it was because I just imagined myself speaking fluently a language other than English, or maybe it was the failures. not being able to communicate and really wanting to do so.
Mm,
I'm not really sure where the desire came from. I've never actually thought about that question. The
okay.
desire for learning a language. No, I know
Sure.
how to build a desire
Mm,
from scratch, but where my desire to, let's say, learn those languages I was bad at started from, I'm not sure. But
okay.
all I just know is that at some point, I really wanted to learn languages,
Mm,
right? And for me, the turning point was in college. So I went to college in California. I have a degree in math, so I was studying math at college.
mm,
But I just wasn't doing well on all the dimensions, Academically, I was struggling. Emotionally, I was struggling. I was just feeling I was in a bad place, feeling like I can't accomplish anything, etc. And so I thought to myself, hey, what can I really wanted to feel like a winner. What can I do to win? I want to feel like a winner.
mm.
So I set myself the challenge. I'm going to learn Spanish in 3 months, despite the fact that before I was terrible at languages. I'm going to learn it in 3 months. So I set myself that goal, and for some reason, I really believed it.
Mm.
And I pushed myself, and I did the right stuff. And after like 2 to 3 weeks, my professors were like, "How can you do this so fast?" And after a month, they were looking at me like I'm an extraterrestrial. Right? My Spanish professor said I'm by far the best student she's ever seen. She's never seen. They couldn't understand how anyone can learn so fast. They thought they were trying to check if it's in my diet, or maybe it's because I come from Africa and there's something special. I knew it wasn't that stuff because I had the same genes and the same background, and I was bad at languages before.
Right.
And now all of a sudden I'm Rain Man at it. And the only thing that changed is not talent level. It's just I began to do things correctly. And so I began to learn, of course.
Okay. So can you quickly outline what those correct steps are?
Okay. So you just want to work, you want to work in alignment with principles, right? Everything in life works by principles. So if you want to, one of the basic principles we've said, if people can forget everything, just remember error correction. If you do that, you're guaranteed to improve. But that's just one of them. Then there's other stuff that have to do with your mentality, which is very important.
Mm.
So your mentality controls everything. In fact, with the wrong mentality, you're guaranteed to fail. And with the right mentality, you're guaranteed to succeed.
I love it.
So one of the things is, oh yeah, definitely. So one of the things is you want to get yourself to believe that you can actually learn the language. Most people learn languages, but they don't really believe they can do it. And so no matter, even if they take classes for 2 to 3 years, they still can't speak a thing. And somebody else who believes they can do it learns like 10 words and they go out on the street and they try to speak already.
Right.
And those people learn really quick. So there's particular methods for building belief, but that might take us too far afield.
Okay. Well, let's jump back to you. How can you help people reach their goals of learning a new language?
Okay, so actually this is good because I usually work with my clients, and what I do with them is I help them with two aspects. There's two aspects to language learning: mentality and technique.
Okay.
Mentality is your mindset, and technique is the actual details, conjugation, etc. So I help my clients with both of those. Usually I work with people mostly on their mindset. I don't have the confidence to learn. I'm too lazy. I'm not disciplined. I don't have the right gene. I'm too old. These are the biggest enemies. So I work with people systematically to eradicate those. And then now they can learn easily. And actually, your audience is in luck because I do have a free coaching session I'm offering to your audience.
Awesome. Okay.
Yes, yes, yes. And this is a free accelerated language fluency coaching session. It's a 30-minute coaching session. Whoever is interested can contact me. And you really get three things out of this coaching session. You'll figure out what your true language goals are. You'll figure out what is really stopping you from becoming fluent in your target language. And by the way, it may not be what you think. Right? And you leave renewed, re-energized, and inspired to finally become fluent. So this is a limited time only offer. And if you want to take advantage of it, all you got to do is send me an email.
Okay, expats and travelers, you heard it. So we're going to put his email in the description section. You can send him a message, put the subject as expats everywhere, and he'll be able to respond to it straight away and know what it's about. I've got a couple more questions for you before I let you go. So if you could tell us, how has knowing different languages impacted your life?
That's a good one. So it's just there's certain experiences I've had that I could never have had otherwise. For example, I learned Spanish. Right? In Africa, we don't speak Spanish. I learned Spanish and became fluent at it. Right? And one of the things I do, apart from being a language fluency coach, is I'm a professional chess player.
Okay.
So Naturally, if you're a professional chess player, you need a coach. And I have a really, really good coach who has all sorts of new ideas that are not in any textbook. He's just invented them. But he only speaks Spanish. He's from Cuba and he only speaks Spanish. So because I put in the effort before to learn, now I have access to this great coach. We have a great relationship. He's like a father figure to me.
Awesome.
So we have a great relationship. It teaches me a lot of stuff, and that would have never been possible if I had not learned the language.
Okay.
And also just new friendships you create and so on.
Yeah, so essentially it's giving you access to all new people groups around the world, which is a beautiful thing. All right, well, our last question is a question that is very important to us because it's a part of our creed at Expats Everywhere. So if you could tell us, how has living abroad transformed your life?
Well, what it's really done is it's changed my way of thinking and destroyed previous assumptions. So, every cultures have a certain habit. People from particular regions have certain tendencies. So, for example, in parts of Africa, punctuality is not so important. So, if you say a meeting is at 2, nobody really takes it seriously. People are relaxed, chill. They don't take this meeting so seriously. I must be there too now. None of that. And so I spent a lot of time, grew up in Africa, and I thought that was just normal. Because I was in Uganda, people were like that. Congo, people were like that. South Africa, people were like that. I thought, okay, this is just normal. Nobody really does this time stuff seriously. And then I started working with Germans.
Oh.
Right? And Germans are punctual.
Yes.
And not just the professional people. I was working with somebody who was on, let's say, what's it called? Welfare. So these are more people who are not so professional, but he was very punctual. If I told him, hey, let's meet at 8, is there at exactly 8. And so interacting with the different culture helped me to realize that maybe all these assumptions I had about people are not really true. There's a different way to operate. And now I've married the American way of doing things and the African way of doing things, and my life has just been enhanced.
That's amazing.
A bigger view.
That's fantastic. Modja, thank you so much for spending time with Expats Everywhere. Guys, check out the description section below if you want to learn how to connect with him and get his free 30-minute consultation. Kaylee and I are actually going to be doing a language learning challenge. So if you want to see how we got on, click this video right here. Now, if you don't see a video here, then that means we haven't uploaded it yet. So you click this video here because that means YouTube has selected something just for you because, well, they know best. Thank you so much, Modja. Take care.
Yeah, it was great fun being here, Josh. Bye.